Another one is to find your unique selling point. Like I told you, the tagline is Dekat Laki Murah. But I tell you, it's worth it. Because if you can do all the digital advertising you want, you can do all the newspaper advertising you want, you can do all the billboards you want, but if your shelf space is the bottom one, you cannot sell. So the key learnings I have from his story is number one, as we start today's episode, it's a special episode. When I started the podcast, it was called the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon podcast. So we were going to interview business leaders in Asia. And it's still my passion to talk about business leaders in Asia. So that's why we have these series going on. And now it's called the Asian Century Podcast. Essentially, this is my idea of the podcast to talk to business leaders around Asia. I have been talking to a number of them, as you've been part of this as well. So we interview them at conferences, interview them in person, in studio. But I thought I need to cover some entrepreneurs out there and do some research and also share their story on the podcast as well. So today we'll talk about someone very interesting. As of recording, the Forbes list was released last week. So the Forbes list, of course, is like they will list down like the richest people in the world first. And then, who is the top 50 in Malaysia. Of course, the usual people are there. Like, you have people like Robert Kwok. You have this year, there's a family in part there, like the Krishnan family. But there was one new entry, which we will talk about today. So the fourth new entry is none other than Lee Thiam Wah. He's the founder and long-time CEO of Malaysia's, and everyone knows this brand, neighborhood, 99 Speedmart. All right, so Bloomberg called him the mini mart king. And as of today, this one rough estimate that it is 40% share of Malaysia's mini market segment. In 2024, which was last year, they made one of Malaysia's largest IPO in 7 years, raising more than 2.36 billion.
Wow.
That explains his rise in the list, because when you go public, your net worth is with your stock as well.
It reflects as well.
Yeah. So after he made public, that's why he made the list. So the offering actually made him a billionaire and propelled him, of course, to the number 4 place as of today. And actually, I looked through the prospectus as well. So you go through a company who is going to list, they will have something called a prospectus. Their rough revenue each year is in the billions. In fact, in 2023, it was 9 billion. So today we're going to talk about this story. 9 billion is like, so many figures. I don't have understand. But it's
zeros.
It's 9 billion. The reason why I want to share today's story is because he came from very humble beginnings to now a $1 billion company and 4th richest person in Malaysia. And not at any means at all he was from a rich background or even an educated background. And today we'll go through him as well. All right. So I'll start with the beginnings. So back in 1964. 1964 is a very long time ago. Lee Thiam Wah was born in Klang. And at that time, Chinese families had a lot of children. So I know that because my father had 8 siblings, right? So my mother had like 5 siblings. So at that time, Chinese families were larger. So he was part of a family of 11 children. And like I said, he was in very humble beginnings. He was, according to some publications, from a very poor family. So his father was a construction worker, so like really humble, and his mother was a street hawker. So back in 1964, this was the time where the polio vaccine was still new. New. So I think the polio vaccine only came about in the US in the 50s. So what happened was Lee contracted polio, and he actually lost his ability of use of his legs. Since then, he's been wheelchair bound. So at that time, it was quite common to have polio. Not common, but it was something that you could see quite regularly, that someone has polio. So I remember I remember that, some of my teachers had polio, like they had to walk with a stick or they lost the use of their legs because they contracted polio. It was sort of like a lottery like that back in the day. But it's not the case now because everyone takes a polio vaccine. But back then, it was quite a public thing that you can see. Came from very humble beginnings. He only attended about 6 years of primary school before he quit at that time to support himself. So this was the beginnings of his story. He began with no one willing to hire him. So he sells snacks at a roadside stall. So the reason why I brought this up is because, like a lot of entrepreneurs that we talk to, they became entrepreneurs by force, not by choice. So they were because of circumstances, because of his disabilities, that he was forced into entrepreneurship, not by choice.
Entrepreneurship wasn't like a sexy term back then.
Yeah, of course not. He didn't like join a tech startup or anything. He just sold snacks at a roadside stall. Another thing that while studying his life was he said that, hey, I would have scaled faster to what he is today if he had the language capabilities. So that explains as well, because he didn't finish a lot of years of his education. So he has challenges with languages. So the only interview, one of the few interviews that I can find is him speaking in Chinese.
Yeah. Saw that.
So that explains with his educational background as well. He, from there, in 1987, launched his retail career and opened a tiny sundry grocery store. 1987. All right. So that is how he started. So one of the reasons why I really wanted to share this story is because he started with a sundry grocery store, or we call it like kedai, or we call it
right?
kedai rujit. Yeah, is the word. In Chinese we call it chai tiama. Like so. The reason why I'm interested in this story is because my grandmother used to own a sundry store back in Perak. So back in Selamat, Perak, when I was young, my grandmother ran a sundry store for 30 years.
Wow.
So when I read this story, I could really resonate, because for a sundry store, it's all about the location.
Right.
So my grandmother's store in this small town in Perak was in a main road called Jalan Menteri, a very main road. And the margins are very low. She saw a lot of things at the time. We had a lot of fun eating all the snacks and the junk food. But the margins are it's a margin game, all right? So you sell eggs, you sell everything from detergent to everything, and then of course you have things like eggs. You have the normal things like Milo and everything. So it's really a margin game. It's not a big margin. You don't earn a lot. It's very hard work. So you really have to be at the store, looking at people stealing things and things like that. So I resonate with his beginnings, right? And then now we move on to talk about also his wife.
Right.
So one interesting thing about this story is, like most entrepreneurs we talk to, it's all about them. But this story comes together with his wife as well. So his wife is called Lee Thiam, and she's about 15 years younger than Thiam Wah. And he joined his business in 1997, and she was actually a purchasing executive. And at that time, 99 Speedmart was called Pasar Mini 99. Right. So the key here is that she joined as a purchasing executive. So purchasing will become something very important for 99 Speedmart, because as they grow, they'll need to buy things. And later we'll talk about the economies of scale.
What does a purchasing executive do actually?
So I have friends working in purchasing. Actually, a lot of my course mates work in purchasing. Basically, it's exactly what it means. Purchasing means buying. So, like, me and you, we just purchase. We make purchases at the store.
Yeah.
At all your mini markets or markets. But for many companies, for example, if you're a bank, you're even a small company, you have a purchasing executive to make the best decisions when coming to buying stuff. When coming to buying, especially for I imagine for 99 Speedmart, it is the goods, right? The things that you would sell. So you have a purchasing executive because you need someone full time to actually sit down and really scrutinize the numbers and make the best possible decision when it comes to buying things. Because if you're a big company, let's say you save RM1 on pens, let's say you're a big bank, right? So and you have to give a pen to all your 10,000 staff. If you save RM1 from each pen, it's 10,000 ringgit.
Right.
So you need a full-time person that is in charge of making all the best decisions or even negotiating the best deals when it comes to buying stuff. So that is her first role, right? And she will later move on to do HR and operations. Eventually, she will even be the board as well. All right. So they married and became partners in the business. And she is actually very customer focused. And she is actually very key to his success. All right. So back to the first retail grocery stall Klang story in 1987. He was 23 when he started. Before it was called 99, it was called Pasar Raya Hiap Ho. Actually,
okay.
Pasar Raya Hiap Ho. In 1992, only he changed it into a sole prop. All right, so don't look down on being a sole prop. So a sole proprietorship means a single person company. Yeah. So in 1992, he established this sole proprietorship called 99 Market. And after that, it's called 99 Speedmart. So do you know the meaning why it's called 99 Speedmart?
No.
So this, according to the interview I watched with Thiam Wah, and he actually said this. He said, in life, you cannot aim for perfection. You cannot, but you can aim for 99%.
Then how does that link to the
Yeah.
Speedmart? Oh, that's just his philosophy.
Yeah. So he tries his best. So he aims for 99%. And all his stores, as you can see today, is quite uniform. It's quite similar. So it's 99%. It will never be 100%. He's not really looking for the 1%.
Okay.
He is looking for, don't wait for it to be perfect to do anything, right? So if you do something, do it until 99% is fine. You cannot control a lot of things.
All right.
Right. So that is the when I heard his interview, that is the thinking behind it. So you do anything, you don't wait until it's 100% perfect. You go for 99%.
Right.
Right. So in 1998, he grown to 8 stores, right, which is pretty good. His wife joined in 1997, and in 2000, it finally is called. In 2000 only, he made it into a Sendirian Berhad, so it's called 99 Speedmart now. And then this started, and then it started to rapidly scale after that. In 2008, only he got his 100th store. All right. So from 1989 to 2008, it's a long time. And then Lee also established in 2013, only he went to Sabah and Sarawak. By the 2010s, in 2019, he opened 1 store in Singapore, which we'll get back to that as well. And throughout that time, his wife was helping him, and she adopted senior management roles. And also she helped with the corporate infrastructure, recruited staff, and like I said, in the purchasing department. So back to the growth, 99 Speedmart became Malaysia's dominant convenience store, outlet by outlet. In 2021, they have over 2,000. So now it's like the later years already. This is the years where they dominate. As of last year, they were 2,600. This year, 2,700. It is in every state as of last year, except Kelantan. And of course, last year they IPO'd, and it actually they grow. Lee Thiam Wah actually looks into their day-to-day operations as well. All right. So all this, and you can go to most 99 Speedmarts, their outlets look pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Do you know what is their tagline?
I have no idea actually.
So it's the tagline, I think you've seen this. It's called like Dekat Lagi Murah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's their tagline. So the Dekat Lagi Murah is their philosophy. So like we live in Klang Valley. We live now we are sort of like in PJ area. In almost every corner, all right, or every taman is there's a 99 Speedmart, and I think even in my hometown, I'm from Taiping Perak. There's a number of them in in most of the areas, right? So the philosophy is he is not a hypermarket, right? So one of the things that I would bring up in this interview as well is how the evolution of this mini market things.
Right.
So of course it started with the Kedai Richest, which is the the mom and pop convenience stores. Later on we had hypermarkets. We had things like Macro was the first thing. So I remember when I was small, I was very excited to go to Macro, and you like buy cartons of eggs lah, of toilet paper lah. Not sure why people want to buy that at that time, but it was something new. You go to somewhere huge and big. In Macro, I remember when I was young, I go to the Macro in Ipoh. After that, there were newer things, more fancy things. There were the Carrefours, then followed by Giants, and then the Aeons, which were more like mini market, hypermarkets with retail. And then, after that, you had other things as well. Now, Grocer is more fancy things. And he actually came much after that. He wanted to do the mini market, the sundry shop, but at scale. So all these big, huge hypermarkets, they were very effective because they had the scale. So for example, if you are, let's say, for these purposes, you are lotuses, right? Now, if you want to buy eggs, the whole Malaysia, so many lotuses, so many of these companies, so many hypermarkets, you have that bargaining power. You can buy it very cheaply because when you buy eggs, right, you are going to buy millions and millions of eggs for the whole of Malaysia.
Right.
So if you are a single sundry shop, you don't have this power. In fact, you are at most like a normal person, normal family.
Yeah.
So you don't have this power. So what he tries to do with all these outlets and the tagline "Dekat lagi murah" is to scale this in small chunks, small sizes, but in a huge number, right? So it fits the purpose. Every neighborhood has one. For convenience, you just go in there and you buy your goods, you buy your groceries, and they have a large enough selection for most families. What you need will be there, right? It's not a huge hypermarket, but most things you need to go. In fact, much earlier, when I recall how I first know about 99 Speedmart and how I remembered how my grandmother, that time she is no longer running a sundry shop, but how it came about when people talk about 99 Speedmart, this was maybe in the early 2000s, early 2010s maybe. What they would say is 99 Speedmart has the cheapest Milo.
Yes, my mom used to say that too.
Yeah, they say, hey, go to 99 Speedmart and buy the Milo, very cheap. Then I was like, oh, okay, that's how the word of mouth spread. Right, so that is how it became famous. So that the point is, when they grow so fast, the larger they grow, the more economies of scale, the more effective they are at buying things and also saving costs on different things when it comes to the cost of the business. Right, so dekat lagi murah. So they want to open more stores around the country, and when I read their prospectus, so the latest one, they actually say that their average basket size, so it's not meant to be a huge purchase. The average basket size is around 20 over ringgit. So you would know like the target market of the customers of 99 Speedmart. Another way they earn money besides selling to consumers, and this is in their IPO prospectus as well, is that their operating profit, a large portion of it, comes from selling shelf space to vendors and in-store promotions and many things. So this is also because they have so many outlets that this is possible. So what does this selling shelf space to vendors mean? So when I was working in marketing, I remember I worked for this like pharmacy. One of my clients was this pharmacy chain that's very popular out there. And when you display, let's say you have a deodorant or you have a shampoo, the shelf space makes a difference. So whether you put in the top shelf or the middle shelf or the bottom shelf, it really will increase your sales, right? So back in my advertising days, one of the things that I work on, I actually used to work on a milk powder brand. So one of the things that I work on, and it doesn't make sense now, but that time, one of my projects and one of the things I constantly do was called POSM, right? Today it's called point of sale material. So if you go to this, the easiest to imagine this, if you go to 99 Speedmart or you go to any shopping mall, you go to the milk powder aisle.
Right.
So you go to the milk powder aisle, you see what we call POSM, like the standees or the thing protruding out. So you have things like, let's say, you have a last time you have like you have the milk powder standing out, like a cardboard. It's normally a cardboard lah. So either a milk powder standing out, you have a claw, or you have a. Last time I used to work for a brand that has a brain, so maybe they have a brain standee that comes out. So that's called POSM material. In all forms of advertising, that is one of the most effective ones because you are influencing the decision
at the point of sale.
At the point of sale, you're right. So I'm trying to choose between brand A and brand B, but then I see your one stand out. It might influence me to buy yours. And rather than the advertising, if you put your advertising on the newspaper or online or the billboard, whatever, that is like way before the purchase.
Right.
This one is right at the point of purchase, and you might even change their decision. If you have like sometimes you have a free gift, right? You have a free gift, or you have a sample. It might even change their decision. Back to the shelf space. So all these things, when you do these things, 99 Speedmart actually will charge you for it to put in this advertising. They will charge you for it. Besides the cost of creating this type of advertising, it's also a cost for you to put it there, right? And it's also a cost for you to buy that shelf space. It might be expensive, but I tell you, it's worth it. Because if you can do all the digital advertising you want, you can do all the newspaper advertising you want, you can do all the billboards you want, but if your shelf space is the bottom one, you cannot sell.
Never gonna sell.
You will need to be at eye level. So all the brands would definitely buy this. And with 99 Speedmarts, there are a number of outlets. Definitely is a good deal for the brands to be in a good shelf space. So this is one of the big operating profits that they have. So with all the scales, of course, logistics also is very important to them. And I mentioned just now they ventured into Singapore. So when I watched the interview of Lee Thiam Wah on this entrepreneur show, he actually mentioned that he tried to open an outlet in Singapore, and he said that it was not a very different market. So in Singapore, it's a trading market, so it's very hard to maintain the quality and also compete in price. So he has since exited that market. And one of the reasons why they raise funds is because they want to grow. One of the reasons that they IPO is because roughly they want to grow to 250 outlets annually. And they are actually targeting to grow to 3,000 outlets within the next few years. So that is their strategy. They want to be, everywhere. Dekat lagi murah. So as of 9 September, they have IPO'd at 1.65 ringgit, right? So 1 ringgit 65 cents per share. The reception was strong. As of today, Lee Thiam Wah is actually estimated to be worth 3.7 billion according to Forbes. And as I said earlier, the fourth richest person in Malaysia. The net profit in 2024 last year was 125.5 million, up 63%. So it's a very promising business. And also, fun fact, they not only own 99 Speedmart, this power couple also owns the Burger King franchise. Yeah, so in Malaysia and Singapore, not only Malaysia, in 2015, they actually acquired, through another company, acquired the Burger King franchise. And as of today, his wife, Lee Thiam, actually serves as the CEO of both Burger King, Malaysia and Singapore, while Thiam Wah, of course, focuses on 99 Speedmart. Right, so it's very rare to hear, like a husband and wife combo, right? They also own 5% of the Alliance Bank here in Malaysia. So they actually not just in the mini market business, they're also in the food and beverage business as well. Thiam Wah is now focusing on 99 Speedmart and is targeting to grow it to 3,000 outlets in the next few years. So post IPO, he still owns 83% of 99 Speedmart, hence his valuation. And 70% is in public trading, and the rest are owned by companies like AIA, EPF, Perkeso owns it as well. So the key learnings I have from his story is number one, don't let disability limit you. As I said earlier, he had polio when he was young, and he's wheelchair bound.
Yeah.
We are able-bodied men, right? And he has achieved so much being wheelchair bound. And not only that, right? So a lot of entrepreneurs I studied, or we had on the show, had a good educational background,
Right.
whether they studied in the UK
overseas.
or they studied overseas. He didn't even finish his early education. So don't let it limit you. So that is very, very important. Number two is he did not raise any funds, right? You did not hear him like, raise funds from this, or I had any huge investors from like all these big funds. And he is there's no more purer brick and mortar business. Right, so he's really brick and mortar. You can see his 99 Speedmart stores and the things he sell. You can go and see. There's not much digital of his digital part of his business, and of course economies of scale. Like I mentioned, because he scaled so fast, because he's scaled so big now. He is able to negotiate prices and make good decisions, and have better economies of scale. So number four is very important as well, that his wife is part of the business, which is very rare. A lot of entrepreneurs that we speak to, the wife is not part of the business. Right. There are some that are, but I can see that his wife plays a huge part in this business. Another one is to find your unique selling point. Like I told you, the tagline is "Dekat Laki Murah." Yeah. So he never want to be like the huge hypermarket or like the big stores out there. So he's growing small but agile and fast, and replicating it in many places. And I think one thing that I when I watched his interview, he said that, hey, the audience asked him, why not you do delivery? Why not you do pick up all those things? Then he said, based on his customers' basket size, it doesn't make sense. Right. So let's say you charge 5 ringgit, 8 ringgit. His basket size is 20 ringgit. It's like half. Yeah. So it doesn't make sense. I pay 8 ringgit. If I come and pick up, I might as well go inside and buy. It's a small store. So like the other big hypermarkets, they have pick up because the store is very big. Right. To walk inside, to go inside, and then to queue, all this. The store is so small. In 2 or 3 steps, you already reach the back already. Most of his stores. Right. So it doesn't need pickup, and he won't do delivery yet as of now. No delivery yet. He's focused on just building as many of what he has now. So I really respect that focus. And another thing is, of course, you start, fail, and you move on. So he started Singapore. He saw the sort of opportunities or the lack of opportunities when he decided to pursue Malaysia. And in Malaysia, he now only Kelantan is the one that he needs to grow, and he's growing in Malaysia. And this is when I watched the interview that he gave, they asked him, what is one advice you would give to the entrepreneurs out there? And the advice that he gave is very interesting. He said, the stronger the foundation, the higher the building. He said, it's very important to build your foundations. So even though now you see he has like thousands of outlets, I can see that he has spent many years building the craft of his business. He started in 1989. He didn't start in 2000s. So he already perfected his craft of business, and he built all those foundations. So once you have that foundation, it's easier to scale. And this is something I see with a lot of entrepreneurs. They start off 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, and now they want to scale already. And if you don't have that foundation, you don't have that business know-how, it can be the death as well, or the failure of your business if you scale too fast, and different things will happen. So I think this is the story, and I will share. And if you have anything to add to this story, of course, it will be awesome. You leave a comment down here. But the plan of this is we want to talk about different entrepreneurs, different crouching tiger, hidden dragons around Asia, and share stories like this. So if you have anyone in mind that you'd like us to cover, leave it in the comments as well, who you like us to cover. And of course, we talk about Lee Thiam Wah himself, if we cover this story. But if you're open to an interview, we can even do it in Chinese. Please reach out to us as well. But it was great covering this story. And if you have anything to add to this story as well, please leave it in the comments. But thank you so much for watching. This is the story of Lee Thiam Wah, and and 99 Speedmart, and hope you to see you at the next episode.